Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Let's get some more. Have your hands. Some more. Just give some more.
Well, hello, and welcome to My Whiskey Den, where craft whiskey is king. As you can probably tell, I am not with Morgan.
Nope.
M&M stands for Mike and Maybe. We have Kevin with us. The M is silent.
Mike and the moron in the morning.
Oh God. Oh, I hate morning zoo.
Morning zoo radio is not your thing.
Oh no. The only thing I like about it is Parks and Rec. Their take on it.
Yes.
Yeah, the ones who like it's and the douche.
What was the guy's name? What was the first guy's name?
I can't remember.
Oh,
it's probably like Marty or Larry or something.
It's
anyway,
something normal.
While you're doing that, I'll not pay the bills while you're looking it up.
Do it.
All right. We are proud members of the Bar Cart Co-op, which is a collection of friends who create content for the whiskey and other distilled spirits public. The Bar Cart Co-op YouTube and Facebook pages have information about upcoming and past special shows, which happen about every quarter, from blind tastings to distiller panels to discussions of special collaborations and the usage of unique grains. The Bar Cart Co-op has educational and fun episodes for your enjoyment, including the last episode that they did, which was Distilling History. It had 2 different distilling history projects going on, one of them at George Washington Distillery and the other one at Stoll and Wolf. Both worth your time to check that one out. Then there is Distillers Talk, the oldest show in the group, hosted by Christy Atkinson and Alan Bishop. It's a conversation with people from distilleries and distillery adjacent that gets into deep and sometimes off the rails and back again discussions with their interviews. New episodes arrive at the end of the work week. And if you don't think that is nerdy enough, check out One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute. This is where Alan Bishop answers any questions about distilling and often puts them to the test. It could be individual grains, mash bills, equipment, methodology, and opinions. New episodes come out randomly, so subscribe to that one. And then we have the man himself here, Bourbon Turntable, where they mix the love of music with the love of whiskey. And Kevin, I'll let you finish that one out.
Hey, we blend the love of music with the love of whiskey. And tomorrow night, I know you're going to be glued to your TV watching the most ridiculous presidential debate of all time, or you could be joining myself and Mike and David and Steve to celebrate the 3rd anniversary of Bourbon Turntable. And we are going to have a good time. I've got a bunch of questions lined out for these guys, both in whiskey and in music, to get their opinions, and then I'll tell them that they're wrong.
All I'm saying is, with this lineup, bring a change of pants because you're going to need it.
Oh, it's going to be fun. It is going to be a lot of fun. And I appreciate you, Mike, for being the head participant in it. So,
well, okay. I'll wait. But also Bourbon Turntable coming up shows. I know you had in this order. Is this correct? You have Revelry, which is a band out of Nashville. In Theory, a band out of Alabama.
Yep.
And then Alan Bishop Day will be coming up.
Alan Bishop Day. I've got a show with the Licorices to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Iron Root Republic. I've got Ethan Spalding and Jason Bronner. Ethan is the distiller at Buzzard Drew, so they're both going to be on. We've got a couple of cool projects that they've been working on. And I'm going to have a guy named Drew Crawley, I think it is. Yeah, he's got a new album coming out in October, so he's going to come on. We're going to talk about that. I've got a date booked with a band out of Germany. I've got Illiterate Light scheduled to come back on. They've got a new EP coming out next month. Just lots and lots of goodness. And
Cool.
there'll be a special edition of Bourbon Turntable. I recorded with Jason Johannes, who's one of the co-hosts of All Things Blues and Southern Rock podcast, and we did a kind of an off-the-cuff review of the Cold Stare's new album called The Southern, which came out on Friday.
Okay, very cool.
Probably more than you wanted to know.
Nope, that's just exactly what we needed to know.
Good.
Thank you for that.
We're killing time here, right? We're just filling.
Yeah.
We're vamping the entire thing. This was all planned out, minutes in advance.
Yes, it was. All right, two more to pay. We have If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything, which is a show about the spirits and paranormal among us, as well as the unexplained and the spiritual. Subscribe on Spotify to get the 3 previous seasons and the 4th season in progress now. And then we have, last but certainly not least, we have Whiskey in My Ring, where David Levine interviews people and does it well. David Levine writes reviews of whiskey and does it well. David has whiskey awards and he does those very well. As we say, David does the things that we don't do. So that is that. Emily, she does have a good point there. It is Drew's birthday. So if you haven't wished Drew a happy birthday, wish Drew a happy birthday. And while you're toasting things up in the air, I just have water tonight. But while you're toasting things up in the air, we lost the great James Earl Jones today. So, made many smiles and tears, that gentleman. So that's a pretty good loss for everybody. Not telling, I won't get into details, because if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. But Miss Morgan has been dealing with some health problems, been in and out of the hospital quite a bit, and she had to go back in again today. She's back out. Hopefully this will be done soon, and she can come on there. And if she wants to talk about it, or if you're friends with her, she'll probably let you know anyway. But we need to get Morgan out of the woods, and she and Mitch and Mitch should be closing in on his time here. I can't remember how many weeks it was, but he's getting closer to the time where he'll be more available and not have to work many days on, many long days. Yeah. When he's and then he'll be working the ethanol. So it's better than working the pole, I guess.
Well, you do what you got to do to pay the bills.
You do.
We've all been there.
Yes. Yeah. And we are not in normal. This is our new normal right now. We haven't all been able to get together for various reasons, and Pat's got his stuff that he's going through now, so we will trudge on with what we've got. I do know we're trying to get this one worked out. Turner Rothen from Rolling Fork, we'll get him on.
Yeah, he's great.
There's a few other people out in the ether. We just got to get stuff figured out. And who knows, it could end up being that we don't do it live, that we do a recorded and then play it live, like we've had to do a couple of other times too. So we will pivot as needed. So yeah. Other than that, I do want to talk about a couple things that we have had going on, more specifically that you've had going on. Because tonight we'll do we'll pimp some bourbon turntable here.
Okay.
You've had a really good run of a lot of the artists that you've had. I will say, from people that have been following the show, that have talked to me, that are not in Kentucky or anything like that, but have been able to catch some of those shows. They have been very happy that they've been turned on to some of these bands, like specifically Parker Barrow, and Cold Stares, which is another one people have talked to quite a bit, and also Bourbon House.
Oh yeah.
So for good compliments on those all around. So it's good to hear that.
No, I appreciate that sentiment, and tell a friend, tell two friends, tell an enemy. I don't really care. But yeah, we've been able to have some really talented folks on with some great music. In the last couple months, we had Chris Tapp from the Cold Stares on. Parker Barrow came back on, and I was able to see them live. about the middle of last month.
Hmm.
It was fun to see them and catch up with them a bit. And they're out on the West Coast now. Maybe Salt Lake City or something was their last show. But they're really putting the miles on that RV, and
Yeah.
so thoughts and prayers with the RV that it holds up.
Yeah.
And then you got to go with me to see Mojo Thunder. So what did you think of that?
That was great. That was another one. I've been listening to them since I first heard them on your show, and had a few of the standards that I had played through there. Played the new album as it came out, but was more excited to hear them live because I wanted to hear how they did that live. I mean, just because his voice, it almost sounds like there's a lot of harmonies, at least in the recording, but not so much live. Kind of harmonizes with himself.
Yeah.
and with the guitar,
Yeah.
But also Andrew, the bass player.
Yep.
Only hearing about his dancing and only
Yeah.
seeing small amounts on YouTube, not really the full thing, and not getting the full Andrew.
It's the full Monty.
It's almost like if Elaine Bennis on Seinfeld had a bass guitar.
Oh, he dances better than that. Come on.
No, it's like the moves fit, but they don't fit.
Yes.
Yes.
And you could tell that there were parts in that times in that show where he had a dance planned.
Yes.
And he's looking to the other band members. Is it okay if I do this?
Yeah. And they're like
he did when they came out for the encore, they opened the encore with Jack's Axe, which is the first track off their Hymns of the Electric Church album, their previous album. And it's a definite heavy nod to AC/DC. So Andrew does the duck walk while he's playing his bass guitar, which was pretty cool. Hi, Margaret. How are you? How's Margaret doing? She doing good? She's watching the show. Watching the show. That's good.
I gotta hope not. but so going back to the show, there's a couple, more than a couple times where Andrew danced and just cracked them up while they're performing. And one of the biggest takeaways I got from that, aside from the mild case of tinnitus, which was my own fault, but was the fact that they are having fun.
Yeah.
Like the whole band, even though because it was funny, it seemed like the drummer was, and I apologize to them, and I don't remember everybody's name, but
Zach. That's
the
Zach.
drummer was just kind of doing his. I mean, he was doing his thing, and he was drumming, he was on, and I mean, he was doing a fantastic job. And then finally, it's like he finally broke at some point. and anyway, it was a lot of fun, and also he tried to get the guitar player. And he was like getting up in his face or something, and the guitar player's like, no, it was kind of moving away from him. So
they have a good time on stage together, and seem to really enjoy just a friendship apart from the band. But the band's fantastic. Another album that everyone should check out. It's very different from their first album.
Yeah.
But in terms of the live performance, it just rocks like crazy. It's incredibly good.
It does. One thing that, because I've listened to it a couple of times, more than a couple of times, but the new album, there's several songs on there that build. Yeah. And I don't, whether it was, I know there was reasons for all the writing and everything and moods, and as there usually is, it wasn't just, hey, it's just write a song. There's a reason that this is like this. But I was listening to it on a walk, and as a couple of with sounds outside and things, as I'm trying to listen to it, as the music hit, it struck me as there's a couple of these songs that would be like the background music, not necessarily background, but mood music, like in a soundtrack for a movie or a show. Yeah. And
I think so.
And I thought, oh God, I hope somebody picks them up to do that, because it's it's pretty good. I mean, it rocks. It does rock, but it also doesn't. It's not like rock where people are like, it's rock music. It's kind of not popular and not middle. It just seems to be like, it seems to cover the bases.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
A lot of times rock music can be one dimensional. It can be, we start out with a power chord and we're going to continue to play power chords with, all out vocal, belt your lungs out vocals and pound the drums. And it starts there, it stays there, and it ends there. This is not that way. There's a lot of nuance and subtlety. I think it's a pretty brilliant album.
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. So like I said, listened to it a few times. I hope that they come around my area. Keep watching. We'll see.
They're
pretty cool.
They leave for Europe in about 10 days. And I think they're gone for about 6 weeks. And then we'll see what they do next. Yeah,
it's cool. Also, well, the other one, the opening band, which the fact that they got them as an opening band, the Laid Back Country Picker. If you have not seen Laid Back Country Picker, we talked about it on the show before, and I know Emily linked them up. You got to look them up. They are a trip. They're an absolute trip. So, and they had a decent following at the show.
Oh yeah, and I've reached out to them, and they're going to be on our show, and it's just a matter of figuring out a date at this point. But that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to think of what was the other. Oh, and then finally got to see Sweet Lady, short set. Yeah. Got to see Sweet Lady. And then there's some other good bands at the Air Double Inn.
That was an interesting place, interesting little dive bar.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd not been there before. So that was fun.
It was a cool bar. I would definitely go back. Yeah.
And Dave knows Laid Back. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
I cannot remember the first place that somebody sent me a link. And I saw them, and it was a performance of them like in a diner or something.
Yep. And
it was like a 30-40 minute set. And so that was my first experience. And you're just kind of like, what the hell? Yes. And his drummer's name is Honey.
Yes. In a bathrobe and curlers.
Yeah. I did get to see her out of makeup before the show.
Yeah. I didn't know what was going on with that. And then,
And him as well. Yeah. That was pretty sweet. So, so that's really all I have for at least for our show updates. So, we can talk about your show some more, and chat, especially the show tomorrow night with celebrating big 3 years, which congratulations.
Years. Thank you.
Actually, yesterday was officially 3 years, right?
I think it was the 7th. But whatever,
okay.
It's three-ish years, yes, and it's been a lot of fun. The number of people that I've been able to meet doing the show has been phenomenal. Just getting to know people in bands, getting to know bands because I'm actively listening for new music. And before I was not actively listening for new music. If I stumbled across something, great, but I wasn't trying to find something. But the question of, is rock dead? I can answer with a resounding no, it is not.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And you've got what's also really cool is there's people who interview people and interview bands, and it's just running through the motions. Mm-hmm. You can tell that you're a fan of these people because you've sought them out to have them on the show, and it's not like you're it's not like you haven't hit up Jack White, but you're not interviewing Jack White, or you're hitting up other people who are, they're either trying to get that album out or they've got a simple one, but and you've had some that are just Jamie,
John
blues guy of St. Louis.
Jeremiah Johnson.
Jeremiah Johnson. I was going to say Jamie Jameson, and I apologize again. But yeah, I mean, that dude was a long time working musician.
Yeah, and just being able to talk with them. I mean, what my goal is I want to promote what they're doing and encourage them in what they're doing. And I've had several people that I've had on the show lately say, "Hey, you really listen to this?" And why wouldn't I? He goes, "Well, we're not used to coming on to shows with somebody that's really paid attention to what we're doing." Swing Billy RFD. All right, I'm game. I don't say no. But just taking the time to dig into their music and what they're trying to do. I've asked somebody to come on my show and talk about their art. And if I'm not going to give it the time to listen to it, dig into it, and try to come up and try to ask compelling questions, then I don't need to do this, because I'm not doing it to get, I'm not getting thousands and thousands of followers, and these people aren't gaining thousands and thousands of fans by being on the show. But I want to be able to put something together for them that if they want to use it to promote their work, their album, their concerts, then they'll feel proud of what they've done. Yeah.
Yeah, at least the few that I have talked to outside of going to a show with you have been appreciative, and especially like in the case of your adopted children at Parker Barrow.
Yes,
when I mentioned your name, they got really excited. So
they're sweet folks, and Neil, you're exactly right. It is very similar to interviewing and promoting craft distilleries. Because it's like I love Led Zeppelin, love to listen to Led Zeppelin, always will. But if that's all you're listening to, you're missing out on a whole lot of stuff. And you may be a Weller guy. I love Weller,
including what they stole from.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah. Everybody's ripping somebody off. But the same thing holds true in whiskey. If all you're drinking is Weller or Blanton's or, whatever the bros are drinking, you're missing out on a whole lot of interesting, creative whiskeys that are going to be fun for you to explore and to learn about.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean you can't drink Weller anymore. It doesn't mean you can't listen to Led Zeppelin anymore. But there's a whole lot more out there in the world.
Right. I mean, it's kind of, to equate the music and whiskey. When you got your CD player, like everyone did, you had to populate with certain CDs. A lot of people went out and bought, Journey's greatest hits or Foreigner's greatest hits. And they're fine, right. Or well, I don't want to say another band, but anyway, you didn't buy Bon Jovi's greatest hits because there are none. But you bought those, you don't listen to them every single day, but those got you started on something. Maybe those got you down the road of looking at something else. So, there's a Neil is a wise gentleman.
Yep. If there were a whiskey version of Spotify, that would be great. And I know that Spotify is the devil in a lot of ways because they pay artists 0.003 cents per play or something like that. But if it weren't for Spotify, you wouldn't be hearing these bands. Not a chance, not anymore, because there's no radio out there.
No.
But what you guys do on My Whiskey Den, promoting craft whiskey, you're presenting a lot of different things to people that they otherwise might not know about. Now, the trick is, how do you get it? Some of it you can order direct. Some of it you can get from folks like at Sealbox. But some of it, if you're not there and don't have a mule, you're out of luck.
Yeah. And one of the problems too, quite honestly, run into is it's not getting the whiskey, it's getting the people. Because there's still people who are like, I don't know why. You know, or they're also working 120 hours a week.
Yeah.
And they don't have time for it.
Yeah.
So but all you can do is you can still talk about the whiskey and what they've done and promote the hell out of it, which we like to do, because there's a lot of really good. I mean, there's good stuff that's around me. I mean, we're kind of in an area, I think there's a little bit of a black hole, because we get some things, or not a black hole, I'll call it a void. You know, we'll get some things that, you know, but we don't really get anything that you can't get anywhere else unless it's local. But you know, you get closer to Chicago or closer to, you know, Milwaukee or Madison or Louisville, or, you know, you get closer to Denver, you can get a lot of those other things that we can't get. But like, I'm looking over here right now at a bottle of Black Button. I can't get Black Button. But right. I've tried Black Button, and man, is it good.
Right.
Right. And you're doing just like with music, you're doing yourself a disservice to not explore that stuff.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, yeah, just like there's not a Spotify service for whiskey, man. If there was, probably the closest thing would have been maybe Flaviar, but even still, it was cultivated sample sets that they sent out.
Yeah. And
it wasn't craft, you know,
right.
It would be a peat theme or, you know, something else like that. But
right. But if you know that it's out there and you're willing to try something different, then, you know, go for it. Or maybe you're fortunate enough to have one of these bars that has, you know, 492,000 different bottles on site, and
yeah,
you can kind of thumb through that phone book of a whiskey menu and find some different things.
Yeah. Yeah. Or travel to our friend's place, the Whiskey Crusaders place, and do a customized tasting. And man, if they could ship sample sets and do virtual tastings out of there, because there's stuff, I know we said it before, but if you said, I want to do a tasting of defunct distilleries, they've got one for you. Actually, they probably have more than one for you. Well, more than one set.
Now there are more and more defunct distilleries, so that's
there's that too. Yeah, but you could certainly find a lot of things. Exploring and going to places like that. Go to a small bar out of town. I mean, look places up. Look up travel destinations. It doesn't have to be a resort that you go to that has a distillery next door, you know, or they have a friend with a distillery. You can always find a spot. So
there's a distillery almost everywhere. So, I mean, Cindy and I were down in Panama City, June, I think. June or July, I don't remember. But I found a couple of distilleries down there. And they weren't just cranking out vodka. I mean, they were making some whiskey, and they were being creative with it, and kind of had the attitude of, hey, we know we're not going to compete with Buffalo Trace. We can't out Jim Beam. Too
soon, dude.
Man, what's he talking about there?
I'll say. You finish your thought. I'll say it.
No, I'm done. I'm good.
We were early on the bandwagon for a distillery that a lot of people have heard of called where's it at? Spirits of French Lick. No,
what I'm drinking tonight.
There you go.
Old school.
I have that same bottle. I've got 3 different Lee picks from Sealbox.
This one's empty. Finished it tonight.
I killed a Matty Gladden Saturday night, and that doesn't happen very often. But so anyway, we were early on board with them. We had picked them as one of our favorites and won awards, etc. We were asked to send them a logo. They put the logo of our tiny little not-for-profit channel on a pick in the distillery. Had it on display, had our name on it. We had talked about doing our own barrel picks. Like, yes, you can do our own barrel pick. And then, if I remember correctly, or at least remember it half right, is we were supposed to get some samples sent out. And then we found out we were not going to get samples sent out to us for something because we, meaning My Whiskey Den, the original one, not the other guy that has one called My Whiskey Den,
right?
But we were not vetted. So we could not get samples sent out to us. And we were asked more than once, told we couldn't. Barrel pick was pulled out from under us that we couldn't get that either. So, however, still bought the whiskey. Still visited the place because it was good.
That's how you make lifelong friends in the industry.
Yeah.
Treat people like crap.
Yeah. Yeah, codependent whiskey drinkers. That could be a good channel. Codependent whiskey.
I mean, with musicians, for the most part, I would say 95%. Well, yeah, we'll go with 95%. They're very cool, and you have them on the show. They appreciate it. They appreciate you staying in touch and reposting the stuff they do. But there's a couple that is kind of like they don't get it. I don't know if they just don't get it. And they're it's kind of like, okay, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. You've seen me. I don't have people on the show that I'm not going to be able to say good things about. I'm not going to have some musician on and say, well, this album's kind of crap and you're a no talent hack. I mean, that's no fun for anybody. So I try to bring people on that I know that I'm going to be able to say good things about. Hey, how are you? Look at that Royals shirt.
Oops.
But
I always have the Royal shirt on.
Yeah, every now and then there's just somebody that they just don't get it, and they don't share the show on their social media, and you reach out to them about coming back on, and they're just kind of like gone. So I don't know if they just catch on that I'm not as big time as I may appear to be.
But that's also, for one, you got to start somewhere, and it's free advertising.
Yeah,
and I don't wish any ill will towards really any distillery, maybe one or two, but because they all should be succeeding, and especially right now, I think everybody needs to have as much promotion as they can get because there's too many closings that are going on, which is a shame because you've got really, really good whiskey, like the Mississippi distillery that shared a sample with you on. That was, they were on to something. It was pretty good, and sadly gone. And yet there are other places that are making stuff not even half that good that are still around.
Yeah,
it's just how it is.
But what a lot of distillers don't want to do, and what a lot of musicians don't want to do, is have to promote their product or their art themselves. You ask any musician, it's just like, I hate having to post everything on social media and post something every day. Wow, I didn't know that. Yellow Rose closed. Wow.
Yeah,
that's sad. But on the whiskey side of things as well, just it doesn't do you any good to do something and make enemies out of it. And the quickest way to make an enemy or to turn somebody against you is to lie to them or treat them with disrespect. Yeah. And I think people are catching on to the fact that people are smart. People know how to get information these days. and you can only BS your way through it for so long, and then you're going to be found out.
Yeah. And one thing which I'll say, well, and we've beat this one a lot, but just people not being honest about whether or not they made it. If obviously, yes, you're going to have sometimes where you, for whatever reason, you have full non-disclosure about everything. Totally understandable, but like at Distill America, there was one of the distillers there. I was talking with them, and I said, they asked what I want to try first. And I said, this one looks interesting. I'd like to try this one. And he said right off the bat, I just want you to know this is not ours. And we called it this name for the intent that it's kind of a play on the fact that it's not ours. And right. I said, well, what will happen then down the road? And they said, we may or may not continue to do this sourcing. And if we do, we will always have this as this tongue-in-cheek name and do this. And I thought, like, this little distillery did not have to say that. Right. But that was the first thing that they said, 100% transparency right off the bat. And you have to appreciate that. Didn't hurt that the rest of their stuff was good.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's there's that certain thing with authenticity, just like with music,
Sure.
Yeah, sure. I wrote my own songs.
Well, okay. There's certain bands that will go nameless that
Bon Jovi.
That sound a lot like Led Zeppelin, and then claim to not know Led who?
Are you thinking of Greta Van Fleet?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking of. I mean, everybody is borrowing from somebody else, and that even happens in whiskey. I mean, there's not a whole lot that's new under the sun.
Yeah. But it's really hard to, like, I remember when I was in college, there was this, we had his art school. So we had, people my age, and then we had people 20, 30 years older, even one who was probably 40 years older than everybody else in there. And there was this guy who he was a musician, and he made a comment. I don't know what we're listening to, but little portable CD player and headphones while you're listening to stuff. And this guy just said, every single note has been played. No new notes have been discovered. Every note's been played. Right. The difference is, how do you put them together? Just like anything else, like the colors are all out there. How do you put them together?
Right.
And thought that's a very smart way of looking at that. And it's like, what's the creativity in how someone did their underlying colors and their underlying notes and how they right. presented that to people. Which was, anyway, I thought that was a really good comment. Yeah. And I've thought about that a lot, especially with certain music. There's, like this evening, I was listening to Tool while I was making dinner, and nobody's going to copy that. There's so many layers of complexity and stuff. That is like, as those biking bourbons that he's sipping in Old Carter. That's like doing layers and layers of stuff that's blended and put well together that you are not going to be able to repeat that anywhere else. That is just very, very well crafted. So I don't know if I could say what is the tool of whiskey, but that would be really.
Oh, there are some tools in whiskey.
Well, there's that too. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, be curious. So one other whiskey thing too, I wanted to bring this one up, is coming up next week is the big toast with Jerry.
Yeah. I went out and visited with Jerry, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and I don't know if he didn't have that planned or not, but he didn't mention that. I did take him several ryes that he didn't like. I don't know if you saw the post about, I had a friend that brought me several ryes and I didn't really care for them. Well, you're welcome, Jerry.
Now we know where he came from.
But it's interesting talking with him because when he retired from Jim Beam, he was out. I mean, he and his wife moved to North Carolina, and he was out of the business. And anything that really went on for 15 years or so after he left, he wasn't on, and it wasn't on his radar. So there's been a lot of really fun things that we've been able to try together that You know, here I am, don't know jack squat compared to what he knows, but I'm able to let him try some things that he's never had before, tried before, or knew of before. I will take all rejected ryes. It is different when you're tasting with somebody who is a distiller, whether that's somebody like Jerry or somebody like Alan, or if you're tasting with Nancy Fraley, for instance. There's a certain blessing to not having that talent and having that skill. It's a lot easier to enjoy whiskeys that may not be perfect.
Right. So yeah, for anyone, if you haven't looked up, so Jerry Dalton, who was the former master distiller at Jim Beam, he was innovative, but also didn't ruin anything. You're handed the keys to a ship that's moving, and you don't wreck the ship. You know, don't introduce too many different things. But he did a lot of things that didn't really come to fruition till after he was long gone from there. Yep. But Jerry's doing a worldwide bourbon toast. Look him up on Facebook. Look up Jerry Dalton, and you can sign up for it. It's a worldwide bourbon toast this Tuesday, September 17th at 3 p.m. Central.
Yep.
So, and since Jerry's retired, he can drink at 3 p.m. Central or 4 p.m. his time. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
And if you can find it, I have not found it yet, but I missed the Booker's batch earlier this year called Jerry's batch.
It's batch 3, so I think it is still
out.
Still yet to come out.
Oh, I thought it had come out.
I've not seen it anywhere yet.
Okay.
But batch 3, it should be out now.
Okay.
So keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah. If you could, especially if you could find it by then, it'd be a good, appropriate one to have. Unless you had some old Beam, some older Beam stuff. What were the ones that they did? Was it the Tasters?
The Signature Craft series.
Signature Craft.
Like the
Tasters, that's Jack Daniels, right?
The high rye. Tasters is Jack Daniels. There's a high rye. There's I've got them up here somewhere. But yeah, there's a whole variety of them that he developed the mash bills for. Really just trying to do something a little creative, a little different, based on his really a trip that he made to Scotland.
Well, plus he was the early person to put rice in as one of the grains.
Yep. Yeah, that was a brown rice one.
Yeah. So, thinking ahead, as people have said for quite a while, not everyone's going to survive making bourbon, or at least making traditional bourbon.
Yeah. They have just put the wait, what? This is odd. It is on their website. They're calling it the Master Distiller's batch and not Jerry's batch.
Oh, that's weird, because I saw the Jerry's batch label.
Yeah, I hope that's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're calling it. Wow.
Okay, then don't buy it.
Okay. All right. I'm about to get pissy with Jim Beam. Because you know how you do the whole thing where you can go online and you can see labels and crap.
Yeah. With the TTB.
Yeah. And every late in every year, they'll release the batch names and everything for all of the Booker's picks for the next year. And it was called Jerry's batch. And I'm looking online right now, and it is saying 2024-03. It says this batch is named in honor of a group of distillers that I admire greatly. Their work in the late 80s and early 90s helped America fall back in love with bourbon and made the industry what it is today. Huh. Well,
That's interesting.
That kind of pisses me off. Okay.
Nothing against anyone that anything's been named for Bookers, but I mean, they've named stuff after just about anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was the nice lady at the dry cleaner who always smiled and shook Booker's hand.
Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, there are a lot of people that have had things named after them, and not to say anybody's not deserving of such, but this is very disappointing.
Yeah. Because bummer. Who knows? Maybe there's some out in the wild that do say Jerry's Batch.
Well, if anybody sees one, snag it, and I'll Venmo you. But
what? Oh, speaking of things to snag for you, what was the cigar blend number?
187.
187. Okay.
Yep.
I saw one, like it was a number higher or lower than that, and I had to go find Nancy's post while I was in northern Minnesota and find that number and put it on there, and I was like, oh, that's not.
I got one of those, right?
You did get one. Okay.
Yeah. Good. Okay. I thought, man, we were too busy when you were here last. I thought we would have tried that. I had about, I don't know, a month and a half ago, we were at a bourbon fellowship, and we're trying different things, and one of the guys just hands me a bag, and he goes, "Here, what do you think of this?" And he had found it online and traded some stuff for it. He just gave it to me. It was very cool.
That's really cool.
And it's
for the uninitiated, Nancy Fraley named that batch 187 of Magnus Cigar Blend after Bourbon Turntable.
Yep.
Which was pretty stinking cool.
Pretty darn cool.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. Again, right. One of the unexpected, fun, cool things that have happened over the last 3 years.
Yeah. And then, I mean, to you could not have, you couldn't have foreseen doing that, because it's not like it's like, oh, here's a release of Jeb's grain alcohol served in a mason jar with a rubber band on top of it. No, this is blended by the blender.
The blender, yes.
Yeah, who is blending some really important whiskeys together to create this. Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah. So, well, since I'm going to be on your show tomorrow night, and people should tune into that, other than the total crap show that's going to be the debate, unless you're going to turn that into a drinking game, which if you do, then by all means, there has to be bingo cards made up for that already.
You'll be drunk in mere minutes. So
yes,
because I don't know any other way you can get through it.
No,
but our show, the show that we're doing, it'll be a hoot.
Yes, and again, just so everybody gets it burnt into their head, in your eye holes.
Yes.
Tune in tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, West Coast, whatever. But number one, have something to sample and enjoy. And two, as I said, well, you're going to need to wipe the sweat off your brow, and you will need a change of pants.
If you watch the Saturday Night Live skit on the McLaughlin group, that'll help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if any clergy is coming over to your house that night, you might want to warn them ahead of time that it's just going to be too smoking hot in that room.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, it should be a good time.
Yeah, no, I think it will. And I think I've got some fun questions to go over with you guys, and hopefully some things that are a little different. We won't talk about sourcing or not sourcing. That's kind of like the designated hitter rule of sports talk radio, or should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame question. We won't get into the
yes, he should.
That obvious. And yes, he should. We won't get anything that obvious, but we'll have some fun stuff to talk about, both in whiskey and in music.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yep.
And looking forward to that. But I think that's it. I don't know if Emily. Well, Emily, yeah, you'll be there anyway. We know you'll be there. But yeah, please do tune into that. It should be fun. The anniversary shows for Bourbon Turntable have always been fun and memorable. Sometimes very surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Alan wasn't invited to be on this one, but you know.
Well, you don't know who's going to show up if you invite.
You don't. But we will have an Alan Bishop Day show on October 20th. It is a Sunday evening. It will be a live show with Alan and Jolie, and Mike's going to join me too. So if you love this combo here, there's more of that for you.
Do you want to be the meat in the sandwich? Yeah. So
the stuffing in the Oreo, or whatever.
Oh, the double stuff. So we had the after effects of the Fat Boy show that we had done. I had been keeping everything away from my roommates, and I took all that stuff up afterwards. And then the next day I either got a message or a comment of, okay, who took all the filling out of the Oreos? And they thought it was kind of like, like when there's a little kid around and they just do all that stuff. I go, well, I did. Why did you do that? Well, to put on the Nilla wafers, of course. So then I got a.
What's wrong with these people?
I was like, what? I go, oh, and also to put on the Pringles. They're like, why would you do that? It's like, why wouldn't you do that? Once you do it, there's no reason why you wouldn't do that.
No.
So
yes, absolutely.
Don't judge.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to go out.
We'll also be tasting some cool stuff tomorrow night too.
Yes.
Some OCD 5 from Glens Creek, and we'll have trying to remember what else we got now. Some oated bourbon from Still Austin, and then we're going bootleg with some unreleased spirits from a newer distillery in the game. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay. I'm all over that.
Bootleg whiskey, can't beat it.
Yes, I've been staying out of it as much as possible, so for good reason. So okay, well, with that, I do thank you guys for tuning in. I know you're expecting to see Morgan, and I don't blame you for being disappointed.
I don't blame you for being disappointed either.
Yeah, message her up. So the M&M ended up being M&K, and chatting about lots of other stuff. So tune in. We'll update you. We may not be as regular on our Monday night thing, but we will. We'll put stuff out so you guys know what's going on. So, so with that, I do thank you all for tuning in. I don't have anything spirit wise, but I do have.
You got like 100,000 bottles right behind you. Reach behind and grab one. Pull the cork out and say cheers to people.
Okay, I'll do something I'm not going to share with somebody.
Grab that Overhold. That was one of the ones that Jerry didn't like.
That's interesting. I'll have to reread his post. Anyway, A Overholt, which I like the Monongahela.
It's all right. I thought it was all right.
Yeah, it was fine. Not my favorite bean product. But it
wasn't $100 either. Yeah.
No, it wasn't $100 either. But for low cost bean product, one of my favorites still Jim Beam Black. Bean Black. Devil's Cut, it's not bad.
Jim Beam Black is Jerry's go-to.
Yeah, the 7, the 7, which was the old, what was it called, Extra Age or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is not the Beam Show.
No, it is not.
Not
anymore.
That way. So, with all that said, it's not the size of the den that matters; it's the love of the whiskey. I think that's how it goes.
Yep.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. See you tomorrow.
Only if I can get this to play.